Is the EA Sports NHL video game franchise in trouble? See, for years, the sentiment online always seems to be that the game is struggling. It's failing. It's at risk of losing the NHL license. Reviews for the game are absolutely abysmal. And no matter where you go, whether it's Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, it seems like everyone misses the golden days of NHL. And this is myself included. I was under the impression that the game was starting to fall off, and not as many people were liking the game, you know what I mean? It just wasn't as fun. But is NHL actually doing that badly? One thing we know for sure is that they don't share the sales numbers of the NHL video game series. But that doesn't mean we can't find out if the game is doing well or not. In fact, I did exactly that in today's video. And let me tell you, what I found out by doing a little bit of research today was shocking, actually. I looked on Google. I ran polls and started discussions with my NHL community about NHL 25, and one of the most shocking things I discovered, people don't hate it as much as I thought. Jay Hibbard loves the game. Cole gave it an 8 out of 10. Vampiric says NHL 25 was a lot better than previous years, and I could go on and on. A lot of people seem to have actually liked NHL 25. Now, that's not to say that's everyone. Obviously, there's a lot of people who don't like the game, in fact, myself included. When I'm looking to play an NHL video game, I want to have fun. That is the most important thing. I don't care if it's sim-based or arcade or whatever, and I personally did not find NHL 25 to be fun. I would go as far as saying the last few NHLs have been my least favorite NHLs of all time. But then we have Ben saying it's the most fun they've had playing an NHL game since NHL 19. So maybe it's just the people who are actually enjoying the game that don't feel the need to go online and tell everyone how much they like it. But even during a Twitch livestream, it was about 50-50, people who really liked the game and people who didn't. Alright, let's be real. This video isn't exactly about regular people playing the game and liking it or not. It's about sales. It's about numbers. It's about people actually playing the game. Now, with all that being said, there's one thing that we don't know, we will never know. How many people are actually playing NHL? Well, okay, maybe not exactly, but I do have some interesting numbers for you. Now, when I wrote out the script for this video, I took a look at the amount of players online currently on the game. There was over 22,000 people playing the game in late July, with a current playtest for NHL 26 going on. I decided to check again just now. It's the middle of the night, and there's over 20,000 people still playing the game. So maybe NHL is not as dead as we thought. But let's take a look at some sales numbers to back that up. And trust me, what we're about to talk about right now may be the most shocking thing you hear all day. I know I did not expect it. NHL 25 was the third best-selling game in all of Canada for the year of 2024. What? I know. It's unbelievable, right? There were two games that outsold NHL 25. What were they? Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Helldivers 2. This means that NHL 25 outsold EAFC, Madden, and the return of college football from EA Sports. Now again, we are talking about Canada. What I just talked about has nothing to do with the United States, but we will touch on that. Here's a full list of game sales for Canada for the year of 2024, and there's NHL. So game sales clearly aren't so bad, but maybe that's all at launch, right? Well, all the numbers I'm about to talk about are Canadian only, and you can see there for September, pre-orders only. The game wasn't even out yet, and it was the #2 best-selling game in Canada. Then in October, the full release, #4 in Canada. A month later in November, it's back up to #2 in Canada. And December, it's #3 for Christmas. Now, one would think that the sales are going to start slowing down there, right? But no, in January and February, it was both #3 for sales in Canada. So the game is doing totally fine in the Great White North, which is where the game is made, by the way. Now, of course, for this video, all of the relevant links will be down below in the description, so that's going to show you all the sales for Canada and anything else you might want to know about this video, and let's go ahead and start talking about sales for the United States. Well, in the US, for September, so that's pre-orders only, NHL 25 charted at #9. And just for fun, here's a look at all of the games that released in September of 2024. And again, these charts are including PC sales of all other games. So before the game even released, it was #9 on the charts just for the pre-orders. Then when you take a look at October, it's at #14 for the full release of the game. So it's not doing as well as it was in Canada, but it's not struggling, that's for sure. It even outsold Astrobot at that time, which won Game of the Year. Now, it's important to see that EA Sports FC is #1, Madden's #3, College is #5. All of these games stayed on the charts for a lot longer than NHL, and all of these games are much bigger than NHL because all of those sports are much bigger than hockey. Well, except for in Canada. We love our hockey. I do also want to point out that for the sales, Nintendo doesn't share the digital sales. This is just what we know, and that does include PC sales of all of these games. Now, when you look at November in terms of the United States, NHL does fall out of the top 20. Here's a look at the top 20 best-selling games in the United States for 2024, and again, NHL is not on that list. But for it to be number 3 in Canada for the entire year, number 9 in September when it was pre-order only, and then number 14 for the full release of the game, I think it's safe to say that NHL isn't struggling to sell copies. Something I also think is extremely interesting is that all these people are pre-ordering the game, and you would think it's for HUT because you mostly get stuff for Hockey Ultimate Team for pre-ordering, but only 11.3% of all PlayStation players actually played an online game of HUT. Hell, only 10% of players even logged into HUT 7 times. But that's just PlayStation. Let's take a look at Xbox. Well, shockingly, on Xbox, it's actually down to 6.37% of people who logged in 7 times. So all these people are pre-ordering the game to get all the HUT stuff and then not playing HUT. That is wild to me. Now, people could just be pre-ordering the game because they want the game early, but it really makes you question on how many people actually play the mode. And of course, some of these numbers are going to be skewed because the game is now free on EA Play, and there's going to be people who play it on Xbox Game Pass because it's free on there as well. You know, people that pick up the game, try it out for a little bit, and then throw it away. So for everyone who thinks people only play the game for HUT and they're addicted to HUT and everything, clearly that's not the case because nobody's playing the damn mode. Shockingly, this is actually up a couple percent from NHL 23. And unfortunately, we can't really look at the NHL 24 numbers because they're completely skewed from the fact that the game was free for a few months. So NHL 25 currently has more people playing the game at this time than NHL 24 did last year. The game charted very high in terms of game sales, and I'm still seeing rumors online about how this could be the final year for NHL. EA might lose the license after NHL 26. And this is the one thing I couldn't get any concrete information on. You see, in 2020, EA Sports announced a new multi-year licensing agreement with the NHL. At the same time, they announced a new agreement with the UFC to make games until 2030. But the specific end date for NHL is not publicly known. Now, we know for a fact that NHL 26 is coming out. In fact, it's coming out in just over a month. It's expected to release before EA Sports FC 26, and that releases on September 26, 2025. Now, after that, no, we don't know if there's going to be an NHL 27, but based on the sales of the game, the fact that they're making money from both Hockey Ultimate Team and World of Chill microtransactions, I don't see a scenario where the NHL pulls the license from EA. That's another thing we could touch on. A lot of people want the license to get pulled from EA, so that way another company could come in and make a game. Except EA doesn't have an exclusive license to make an NHL game. You see, a company like 2K or any other company could get the rights to make an NHL game tomorrow. There's no exclusive deal for EA to be making these titles. So, knowing that, and that EA is the only company willing to make an NHL video game, I don't see a scenario where the NHL says, no, we don't want to have a video game out there. We don't want the rights to be used for a video game. That's just not going to happen. So while we don't know the length of the current deal for EA Sports to be making NHL video games, I think it's safe to say it's not going to be coming to an end anytime soon. Now, like I said, I didn't particularly like NHL 25. I think there were a lot of problems and a lot of things that need to be fixed. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people still playing the NHL video game series. The online sentiment that the game is struggling and that it's failing, they just don't seem to be true. They're simply wrong. To take that one step further, let's take a look at the sales for NHL 24. Well, you see Hogwarts Legacy was number 1 for the year of 2023. Legend of Zelda was number 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was number 3. And NHL 24, which released on 4 consoles instead of 2 for NHL 25, was the 4th best-selling game in all of 2023 in Canada. And when taking a look for the United States, in October when the game first came out, it ranked 8th among all games, with a drop to 16th in November. Here's an interesting chart from October 2022 directly from PlayStation. In the US and Canada, NHL 23 was the 6th most downloaded game, and then in EU, it was the 11th most downloaded game. In October of 2021, there's NHL 22 ranked 8th for downloads. That was for the US and Canada, and then in the EU, it was ranked 18th. So pretty consistent from year to year, even though there was 2 less consoles for NHL 25. Now, either way you look at it, whether you consider this good news or bad news, one thing is for certain, the game is doing a lot better than most people thought. So, point blank, is NHL struggling? Is EA failing? No. And as long as people keep buying the game year in and year out like they have been, I don't see the series going away anytime soon. Like I said earlier, I'm going to leave some links down below in the description I'd like for you to check out. They're the links to the different sales charts, and I'm also going to leave a link to a discussion that I had on Twitter yesterday where a bunch of different people, over 100 replies came in regarding NHL 25, what people thought of the game. And again, there's a lot of really positive opinion about NHL 25 in this thread, which I did not expect. Now, I'm editing this video, I put everything together, I recorded everything last night, and I'm still working on it, but one thing I want to say after editing the video and I'm looking through everything, one thing I didn't mention is how much concern this gives me, right? Like, the game isn't in a state where I'm happy with it, and a lot of people aren't happy with it. and the sales are really good. And that could be really concerning because EA might see, hey, look, like sales are doing great. Why would we change anything? Why would we fix anything? Now, not everything is all sunshine and rainbows over at EA. There's a lot of problems with the game, a lot of bugs, a lot of issues, a lot of stuff from previous games that needs to be brought back. There is still a lot of people, maybe the majority, but I can't tell at this point, that do not like NHL 25. But opinions where we are now versus where we were maybe 6 months ago seem to have changed quite a bit. Here's a quick look at a poll that I ran where nearly 2/3 of everyone that voted thought NHL 25 was at least better than NHL 24. That has me very worried and nervous, so I'm hopeful that NHL 26 ends up being a step in the right direction. I almost feel like I come off as like somebody who really just wants EA to do well. Go EA, yeah. I want the game to do well. I want NHL to be good. I don't care who makes the game. If EA just dropped NHL tomorrow and another company did happen to pick it up, I would do my best to try and promote that game and have an NHL video game and something for us to play. I want an NHL video game. I want it to be good. I genuinely didn't really like NHL 25, but it is the only real hockey game that we have, right? And I'm going to continue playing it. Maybe I'm just getting old, right? I long for the days of NHL 14 and, you know, back when I had no responsibilities and gameplay just seemed to be a lot more fun, but I was wrong about NHL in the NHL video game franchise. It's doing a lot better than I think most people anticipated. And yes, that does include myself. I thought this was a failing franchise, and that's just not the case. Anyways, y'all, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section below. NHL 26 is right around the corner. Lots of content going to be coming out for that, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on the player count, the sales charts, and everything else I can regarding NHL 26. I, for one, really didn't expect to see these kind of numbers coming from the EA Sports NHL video game series. I didn't think it would be this good of a selling game. Maybe you did, but regardless of who I bring this up to, no matter who it is, they're all shocked. EA Sports NHL is doing very well for itself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay frosty.